My name's Carol Wood, and I live in Flesherton, Ontario, which is a small town a couple of hours northwest of Toronto. We're empty nesters now, but we raised two kids here. Our kids are now 30 and 36 and are out in the world. I grew up in Montreal. That's where my mom and dad, and they also grew up there. We're several generations. My father was a prof and a variety of different things, actually town planner. And my mom was very involved in community. My dad had not only dementia, but he had congestive heart failure. He, before that was diagnosed, he had had some strokes. It had been concluded. So he had different heart issues and was on a variety of medications. And he had some other physical limitations. And as he was bound and determined to stay in his own home, and really, it was the one thing that I ever saw him even get slightly cross about, like, this is what I want, and really dug in his heels. To be able to make that happen, my role as caregiver, his primary caregiver, I lived 6 hours from him. So I had a team of people that were assembled that became larger and more complex. At a certain point, when dementia was obviously what was happening with him, I ramped it up a bit, and I would go at least once a month for 3 to 5 days, more if there was more appointments needed. And that stage went on for 5 years. So I realized that something was up with my dad, more than just, oh yes, you forget things. I mean, that's not out of character. When I phoned him one time, and he was really troubled, and he confessed in that moment that he thought he had done something very foolish, and maybe he had signed up for something or given some money to someone, and he couldn't remember much of the details. Once I started to looking, because I was trying to track down what had happened and when he had paid these people and what was going on with his bank account, I discovered all kinds of ridiculous payments. That was when I realized, yeah, he's being taken advantage of because he's lost his capacity to judge what is happening to him. My dad, as well as dementia, had a heart condition. He had congestive heart failure, but he had, leading up to that, he had some, well, we didn't realize, but he had some strokes. And then he did, in fact, have a heart attack at one stage. The effect that the heart condition had, would have been, implicated or involved in what was happening with him with dementia. And I do think that perhaps it would have affected his longevity, that he had both those things to deal with. Although the strange part of all of this is I myself was frankly relieved that his body and his mind kind of landed at the same time. That was always my prayer for him. And for him, that was the best thing, that he got to gracefully go before he had completely lost a sense of who he was as a man, as a person. One thing I would like to share with anyone in this caring role with someone with dementia, heart condition, all the aging conditions that one ends up needing help for, is there is absolute blessing in the giving that we give. I know, not to take away from the fact that it can be very tiring. I would say to anyone who's, in the role that I was, get as much help as you can. Get as large a team as you can. Do your homework to find out what volunteers are available in the neighborhood, what care agencies are available, and for heaven's sakes, dip into their savings and pay for some care, so that you don't put it all on that primary person, because it can be overwhelming. And those last years with him, I have very precious memories. We did as a family, like we saw him go the way he went. And yes, there's sadness because as you watch loss, that's sad. But there was also so much laughter. It was such a bumpy and fun journey. And as much as possible, if the grandkids are able to still stay engaged, if there's people that can, carry on and be part of that person's life, their lives, my life was enriched. And, does make you, not just because it makes you a better person for the giving, but to walk hand in hand with someone who's walking that path right to the end. I mean, that's quite a gift.